Hello there, this is Sean Usher, and today I'm joined by Graham Cox, who is the co-inventor of Shoft, which is a new device that helps prevent you getting a bad back when you're driving. Now, he's written a book called Help! My Car is Killing Me. And I've got him on the line today because it's the first book, I believe, Graham, that's been written to help people who suffer from bad backs when they're actually driving. Is that correct?
Hi, Sean. Yes, I've looked far and wide on the internet and in many bookstores and searched high and low. And although there's lots and lots of advice from people about how to look after yourself, diet, yoga, Pilates, chiropractors, physios, all sorts of people have got some very, very good books out on how to help your back. But there really was nothing out there that I could see that really was helping us poor drivers and commuters that have bad backs in their cars.
Okay, so you've had the forward written. The book is written by experts, really, including yourself. We'll come on to that in a minute. But the forward's been written by a real expert as well. Tell me about Brian.
BRYAN MCILWRAITH has been featured on television and Auto Car magazine. He's a regular, and also on various newspaper columns. Anyone talking in newspapers or on the media about cars and ergonomics and the way we sit in cars will always pretty much get in touch with Brian as the opinion, the expert opinion.
Okay, and you have a co-author as well, Nell. What's her background?
Well, it's a good job. I mean, although I've been spending a lot of my time surfing and searching through all the websites giving advice, Nell's the brains behind the book. Nell Mead is an ex-major from the Army, and I'm so delighted that Nell could help me put this book together. Nell is actually a physio to international sports people, the English rugby team, the Welsh rugby team, tennis, show jumping, Formula One, you name it, she's been involved. So she's right at the very top of her game in physiotherapy, and as I say, I'm absolutely delighted that she's been able to help really with the content to make sure it really is great advice in the book.
Well, I've read the book and I skimmed through some of the subjects because I suffer from a bad back, and there's some great exercises which I'm going to come on to in a minute. But can you show us the device? What does the device actually look like?
Okay, well here it is. This is the Shoft device. This is actually attached to the seatbelt tongue. If I just take it off, you can see. You might be familiar with the bit you click into your seatbelt. That's the seatbelt tongue, and that's the cheap bit of plastic that's found on you know, anything from an entry-level Kia, Clio, whatever, all the way through to a £500,000 Ferrari. It's the same piece of crappy plastic, and so you put a Shoft over the top of it, and I'll put one on. It takes just 2 seconds to stick it on, and once it's actually on, there we are. It makes it look much better, much more stylish, makes it feel great, very tactile, but the real genius is the little bit at the back called the brake pad. And what that does, it gives a resistance, so when you buckle up in your car and pull the lap belt nice and tight, as Rosper say we should, what it does, it maintains you in that lovely position. So instead of slouching down in the seat, you're kept upright in the seat so you can maintain good posture while you're driving.
Yeah, so this is one of the biggest problems we have when we're driving, I believe, is that we start off fine, we pull the seatbelt tight, and we're there all right. But when we're sitting there, but when we start to drive and we start to sort of stop and start traffic lights or whatever, we tend to slouch, do we? And that's where the problems start to happen for us.
Yes, I mean it can aggravate existing back pain from other sources. It's not necessarily the car is the cause, but it aggravates existing back problems. And as BRYAN MCILWRAITH has been quoted many times, going in a moving car is just about the worst thing we can do to our backs, because it's almost like a perfect storm. You've got the stresses of driving, making appointments. You've got the physicality of steering, changing gear, looking left and right, and you've got the vibration of the engine of the car, braking, accelerating, so you've got some G-forces working on you, and all of that, unfortunately, is taking its toll on our backs. And the statistics are amazing on in terms of the developed world, on just how much of the time we spend off work and when we're at work being less productive just because of a bad back. So it really is a big problem, and I think this book will go quite a long way to helping people to cope with the necessity of having a car these days.
And tell me about some of the mythbusters, because the book is broken up, and I think it's a really good simple read for most people to get a handle on what's wrong with the way they drive. And you've got a series of exercises, which as I'm going to come on to in a minute. But tell me about some of the mythbusters, and one in particular I noticed was that seat wedges are good for your back. Is that right?
Well, that's the myth. Seat wedges, there's no real scientific evidence that seat wedges really work. Anecdotally, they do certainly work on some people. The trouble with seat wedges is that for most people, it raises up the person in the car, which may be good, but then it misaligns your back with the lumbar support. So all the good you do from being raised up slightly is actually cancelled out by misaligning the lumbar support, and therefore your back curvature of your spine isn't aligned and pressed against the lumbar support, which gives it that sort of help. So those seat wedges, by and large, are not good. They haven't been proven to be good, and even more importantly than that, they can actually be quite dangerous from the crash testing point of view, because what they're doing is effectively they're taking the crease out of your legs and spine, that angle there, and they're reducing it down and flattening out your body. So if you were to have a loose lap belt and be in a collision at higher speeds, it's not uncommon to submarine underneath the seatbelt, which means you go right underneath the seatbelt.
Right, and also one of the other common myths that's perpetrated in the media sometimes is that the acupuncturists, the osteopaths, the chiropractors, they can't help you in any way. Is that true as well?
Well, I think that's just old data, really. I think over the last 5 years, it's accelerated amazingly, where you can see all the benefits of these back specialists. And the NICE report that came out for GPs guidance on treating mechanical back problems basically states that osteopaths, chiropractors, physiotherapists especially, and acupuncturists are all really good people to go to help you with your back.
Okay, and tell us about some of the stretches, Graham, because in the book you have a number of stretches that will be good in any environment, and I am particularly interested in the Rigsby. What's that all about?
Well, that's just showing our age, because when we stand up in the morning, we often sometimes arch our backs backwards and put our hands back. And
well, maybe you do. I mean, maybe I should do.
And if you say, "My God, Miss Jones," that's usually that's Rigsby, the character on television on Rising Damp. That's what he used to do as his trademark. So it's just a bit of fun, but it's a very important stretch, and I think most of us do it anyway. But the book tells you how to do it properly.
Yes, and in fact, there's 8 stretches. I don't want you to go into all of them, but there are 8 stretches in there.
Not all impersonations of people as well. It's just that one.
Yeah, just that one. That was the one that really stuck out for me. But so I mean, having a bad back, it really is quite a serious thing to have these days, and it's surprising how many days are lost, isn't it? Through people having a bad back,
Yeah. Yes, I mean, going to a very good resource, which is backcare.org.uk, which is the UK charity for backs. There's a tremendous amount of data on there about just how big the problem is. Not just for the individual. We all know anyone that's had a bad back, and probably about 80% of us will have a bad back at some point, especially the over 30s. But we know what it's like to ourselves. But when you actually expand that up to the macro environment, the companies that you're working for, they lose out millions because of people off with bad backs, and the country as a whole loses out. And of course, the NHS burden, everyone knows about that from the news, is an ever-increasing burden. And bad backs are, I think, they're about the second biggest reason for going to our GPs. So it's a huge problem, but one that's often swept under the carpet as being, well, that's just life, and it doesn't have to be that way, really.
Okay, now I know that you're going to be putting the Shoft back into production. You've already produced some as prototypes, but you are actually going to be producing the you know, a full lineup of the Shoft, and you've got a free book. This free book we're talking about that you're going to be giving away. Tell us where you can get that free book, and when will production start?
Right. Well, the ebook really is just from my research from over the last 10 years or so. You know, having a bad back and getting interested in cars and also inventing the Shoft device. We're putting the ebook together and giving it out for free. That should be out within the next 2 weeks, we hope. And all the information will be at shoft.co.uk. So if you can just Google Shoft, that's S-H-O-F-T, Sean Connery saying soft, you'll be able to go straight to shoft.co.uk, and all the information about how to get involved will be on there. So the ebook we're hoping will be out within the next 2 weeks. What we're hoping to do is to get people to crowdfund us to production. We made quite a few thousand Shofts and sold out within a week. And we need to move to a bigger production facility, and we need funding to do that. So going to shoft.co.uk, you'll be kept up to date on how to get involved, and anyone that donates to the crowdsourcing effort will get one of the first Shofts off the press, so to speak. That will be towards the end of the year, and they'll be getting a huge discount off it as well. So good for everybody.
Excellent. Well, there you are. That's Graham Cox, who's the co-inventor of Shoft, which is a new device that helps you prevent getting a bad back whilst you're driving. And it's a great ebook. I've read it, and I thoroughly recommend it. And you can get more information at www.shoft.co.uk. It's shoft.co.uk. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.